Hello and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be making this card here using a few really neat pieces here. Here we've got the In Good Taste DSP, which is absolutely lovely in terms of using them for backgrounds or more muted muted scenes. There are lots of different wood grains, which is great for using them for more masculine cards. There's a lot of really good options here, and I thought, well, let's highlight this because one, I thought with the things as they are right now, a feeling better card would be a good one to make. Plus, when I highlight the set, this is called the Harvest Hellos, and notice you have this apple slice here. You have an apple, but you can also make this pumpkin, which you can easily turn into a jack-o'-lantern, which I adore. You can make a card for a 2 and A+ teacher. So remember that I actually made that with this box. This was an older paper from a previous package that was available, but I used it to make it with this box and to make it with this one, which I thought was just lovely, with the Gilded Autumn paper. There's that. Isn't that nice? And so I actually used that sentiment right here, even though I didn't use the punch on that one. I didn't use the apple or whatnot, but this is great to make cards for teachers, especially considering how school is going to look like this year. You've got just the You Make Me Smile, Give Thanks if you want to keep with more of the autumn theme and just have a simple pumpkin and not make it a jack-o'-lantern. These are like apple seeds. You can use that as like a border. Lots of good choices here. Hey there, pumpkin. Welcome back. If, say, you're a teacher and you're making a little something for each of your students, right? That's really nice too. So this set is really versatile, which I love that about this particular set. So for this card, we will need the entire bundle, so you will need the punch and the stamp set. You can cut these out by hand. It's not impossible. It just saves a little bit of time if you use your pieces that come in the bundle. So for this one, like I tend to normally do, I'm switching it up a little bit just to showcase other pieces. I think I'm actually going to make it go this way. So here we have two different sheets. So notice here it's kind of like this paint pattern here. This seems like a really thick layers of paint being sloughed on there. And then here we've got wood on one side, but then these kind of hexagonal, let me put it a little bit closer, hexagonal tiles here, which is really nice. So I could have used this as the background if I'd wanted to, and maybe this is the, no, I don't think about the paint, but the paint could still be used for other types of cards, especially if you have an artist in your life, right? That could be really fun. Actually, I think I want to put the knot over there. So there's that. So for this card, it's actually really fast to put together. Honestly, the longest thing is probably going to be to color in my apples. So let's go ahead and get started on this. Really simple. Let's go ahead and glue these down first. And I'll just use my Tombow for this. Again, you could use your seal if you wish. That would be perfectly fine. You could even use glue dots if that's what you have handy. It's really, this DSP isn't too thick, so it's not like you need to use a particular option. Oh yeah, I wanted it, yeah, this way. Not that it matters too much, but I feel like you can tell there's a little difference. And you're using this on a piece of Whisper White thick card base. This is 5.5 by 8.5, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. And so let's go ahead and adhere this piece, and I'll go ahead and press it down after that, just so you can see how I've centered it up the paper. And again, because this one's kind of thin, you really don't need too much of this on your DSP to make it stick really well. So there's that. So it sort of looks like a backsplash in like a kitchen, and then this could be a table or a counter of some sort, which is a lot of fun. So this here is for our sentiment, and then I have a few pieces of scrap for the apple and the apple slice there. So let's go ahead, and this time, because again I'm using my Memento Tuxedo Black ink, because I'm using my blends, so I do need to make sure that I use the right type of black ink. So let's go ahead, I'll move this off to the side for now so that I don't ink it up on accident, because knowing me, that is definitely a potential hazard. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stamp it right down there, and then same thing right here. And actually for this one, because of how the punch punches, it does this at the top here. So I'll want to actually punch out my other pieces a little bit differently, and I'll show you how I'll do that. Let's just do that. And then my little pieces, because they don't really need to be anything fancy, I actually put them on the back of these because it really doesn't matter too much. And actually I'll have space for it there, but I think it's going to be harder to manage. So I'm actually just going to right in the middle there, and then same thing here, just because then that way I can just line it up with my actual punch. And I made 3 of them, so let's just do that. So there's that, 3 leaves and the stem. So now, oh, that's where that goes. So now, here's the thing to note though, because I was trying to save a little bit of space so that I could reuse the, oh, I see, my goodness me. I was too eager to tell you that trick. So here I actually added the Feel Better Soon on the back of this piece, in part because it's big enough where I can see it. And I'm having it come off of this side. So I want to have some more space for myself. Oh, that's a little low. Ready and flip. And so, there we go, that's better. So I actually want to have more wiggle room on my, on the left side, not on the right side. So there's that. These are going to be ready to punch out, but here's the thing. If I put this in there now, one, I think I'll have to trim that extra piece here, but notice it would cut into my apple slice that I stamped up there. So I'm just going to take my snips and cut that off. Cut off these extra pieces here, and at this point, if you wanted to, you could just completely use your there we go. You could just use your scissors and just cut it out yourself, but if you were set on using your punch, take a look at this. I've just stuck it onto a Post-it note, and take a look. I just, let's go in there, and then notice I've got excuse me, I've got control over my apple, and then there we go. See, just take that off and that's punched out. And this is all that I've left with, and I can just go ahead and pitch that. I don't need to keep that. And then the same thing, you can actually do the same thing with your apple here. So if you put it like this, you can actually put in your apple slice and get half the apple cut out for you. Boop. And then all you need to do is take your snips to kind of trim it up off the middle there. And this Post-it note, because of how I used it, I can still use that whole other side without any issue for another type of an event where I had to trim it down. So there's that. So those are ready to go. And again, now that I'm saying it, I should have definitely colored them ahead of time, but oh well. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and punch out my leaves. So now, see, I'm just kind of, I intentionally put them on one edge so that I would have them all handy for my punching. There's that. And then, essentially, this serves as like a little handle. There you go. And then finally, because now all I have left is this piece, right? I can just go ahead and stick this piece in. And then, boop. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and color these in. I definitely should have colored them first, but this is fine. This works. So for coloring, I used a few different colors, and actually I'm realizing now I need to grab my soft suede. So I needed my green for my leaves, I needed a red for the apple, and I needed the black for the seed, and the ivory for the inside of this apple slice. Note that for those of you who are not necessarily artists, the inside part of the core of the apple is actually whiter than the actual apple, the flesh of the apple itself. In the past, I've actually used very vanilla instead as my base for my stamping of an apple, and then I've actually used, I have just like a white gel pen, and I've colored in this part with the gel pen, and that's definitely another option as well. This time I thought I would use the ivory, and if I thought this was too dark, I could actually use the color lifter that Stampin' Up carries to kind of mute the color some. So I could actually use this and kind of mute it. Let me show you how that works. Even though this card's already made, I can just kind of push the color down a little bit and make it a little bit more, it'll essentially make it a little bit paler. There we go. So it essentially pushes the color back into the paper, and that's what that does. So you can see now it's a little bit paler, and it's the lines that were actually, I should probably make it a little bit more even there. There you go. So there you go. So that's what this color lifter would do if you wanted to do that with your designs here. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish up. And if you wanted to, you could definitely make your apple a different color. You could have it be multicolored. You could have it be a yellow apple or green. I did a little art project with my daughter, and I had asked her, I was like, oh, well, what color apple should I make? And she definitely wanted a green one, and so I definitely did. And it was, we were painting though, so it was a little bit different, but I was able to get some really fun blended greens together, adding a little yellow for some spots and some darker shades, and so that was kind of nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure it's nice and thick in some lighter spots, and actually while I'm at it, I might as well do this slice here. If you're not as confident with this brush tip on this really thin piece, it might be wise to switch to the fine tip pen side of things. So like I'm gonna actually use the fine tip pen for this side's, adding a little bit of depth here, and then I could go back over it with the light if I wanted to. So for here I'm actually going to use the brush, and then there's that, and then here's that, and there we go. Boop. So now I've kind of added a really dark sort of shading, so I'm actually going to try to blend it in a little bit more, because otherwise, even though I did it pretty early on, it'll be a little bit more of a stark contrast if I don't blend it in a little bit. So there's that. Let's go ahead and do the fleshy part of the apple. Oh, and see, look, I went into that white space a little bit, so I can actually show you with the blender, the color lifter, what that'll do. There we go. And let's do the leaves really quickly. I'm doing the light first, and then I'm going to add a touch of the darker. And so you can see here for the leaves, that would have been a wise thing to do ahead of time, because I have to kind of hold them, and I'm sort of moving them around if I hadn't been holding them. So there's that fine tip, a little bit of color, a little bit of dimension. There we go. Boom, boom. Add some seed color. There we go. Add the stem. There we go. And now let's use that color lifter to push this color down a little bit. And it certainly won't be as pronounced. Actually, I went over in that red a smidge. Let's see anywhere else. A little bit of that green. And I think that's mostly it. So there's that. So now let's assemble the rest of it. Won't take too long. So go ahead, let's fold this down and use our bone folder to press our seam here really well. And in case you want to note the sizes here, this here is actually 1 3/4 by 5 1/4, and this is 2 1/4 by 5 1/4. You could have made it 2 and 2, but I thought having it exactly halved was a little weird. I didn't think I liked that, so I used the 2 1/4 and then the 1 3/4. And I just made sure to kind of put it up a little bit higher, and then this piece could be a little bit lower if I wanted. So I did glue this one down straight onto the card, and I popped up the apple slice. I thought that would be nice. I also popped up the sentiment for this one. Oh, it actually, well, I think I left space. I left space. You probably would want to actually add, let's do that actually. I add just a little bit, like a tiny little dot of the glue here to this, And actually that might even be too much. So here's what I'm going to do. Ready? Look, I'm going to make them kiss a little bit there. And so now all you do is you attach the stem. Make sure you put the glue on the right side. You don't want to put it on the non-colored side. If you did, then you'd have to put the stem down on your cardstock first and then adjust. So I'm just going to put it off about here. There's that. Alright, and now we're going to add the apple leaves here. And you could add significantly more if you wanted. You could add none at all if you didn't like these. I thought that it kind of ties in the apple a little bit more into the scene if it had the little apple leaves as well. So these I just used a dimensional, and I've actually got these bones here left over. So that's what I'm going to use, because all of these parts of the sheet are useful. Don't waste them. Don't throw them out. You can use them. They're still dimensionals. They're just not as pretty, that's all. So go ahead and add the apple slice. And this one, I actually had a little bit of underneath here. There's a little piece of the red that I kind of went into the white border, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to cover it up with this guy. But for this one, I want to change the order a little bit. Like maybe make it a little bit flatter or a little lower. I don't know. Let's do that. That looks good. And then for this guy, I'm actually going to do, because it's 3/4 of an inch, this is 3/4 of an inch, and I made it longer than it needed to be. I think this is, yeah, 2 inches wide. Really don't need it to be this wide, but all you do to get that fun flag is you just go right down the middle and then pick a point and cut to that middle, and then essentially go about that same distance towards the middle again. Oh, looks like I was a little wrong angle there. There we go. And now you just pop that up on its own dimensional and you are ready to go. Just make sure, again, you're putting the dimensional on the correct side. So here, remember, we stamped that one a little too low. So you want to go ahead and do that. So there we go. And again, if you had put an actual dimensional, that would have fit just fine. So there's that. Let's line it up. I put it flush with this actual DSP, a little bit higher. You could have centered it, but I liked that. And so there we go. We've got another fun card I can send to somebody who's not feeling great, and hopefully this will cheer them up. If I wanted to as well, I could have stamped an apple on the inside, or if I wanted to add a Whisper White layer piece, I could not only have added an apple but colored it in as well. Definitely lots of options, but notice how we have a lot of very good versatile pieces in the in Good Taste DSP. Some different wood grains. We've got, like, this is clearly a larger piece of, like, a closer piece of wood. This is a smaller, like a further away shot. We've got different types of tiling. I showed you 3 of them today. There were more. There's one that has Night of Navy, which is lovely. It has not really a Moroccan look, but it's definitely something a little bit more unique. So if you need materials to make any of these cards, feel free to get in touch. This is the hostess code for the month. If you're going to be making a purchase of less than $150, go ahead and use my host code so that I can send you some goodies to say thank you. If you're going to be making a purchase for more than $150, please don't use this code. Use your own Hostess Rewards card points to earn whatever goodies you would like to have, and add those to your cart. So if you need any kind of help either making a purchase, or if you would like to get either an annual catalog or a new holiday catalog, which has not only, not only Christmas, but it also has what I absolutely adore, my favorite season, autumn. So we've got some really fun things. I have this, both these papers with the brush metallic. I'm going to be making some really fun things with that one here in the upcoming month here. So some really fun different types of stamp sets and some new variety in the works here. If you're into Halloween, there's this fun bundle to go with it. So get in touch if you need any of these materials. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!